The Parts tool allows us to affect the visibility of each of those components that make up our walls, our floors, and a variety of other different kinds of Revit entities. In this case, we have a CMU block wall with brick on the exterior side of it. What I'd like to do is rotate this around so we can see it from the other side. Select on the upper corner of the view cube to spin the wall around. And what I'd like to do is take this gypboard material off of here so that we can see the CMU block below. To do this, begin by selecting on the wall. Then on the ribbon, we're going to activate the Create Parts tool by just selecting on it. From here, we're going to click off of it out into space, and we'll see that this wall is now made up of multiple different layers of materials. And we're just going to get rid of this layer of material and then this layer of material right here. One of the things we can do is select back on one of these layers of materials. There's an option when we do that called Divide Parts up on the ribbon. The next thing I want to do is select on Edit Sketch because I'd like to divide this into two separate parts. Begin by moving your cursor up into this area, clicking, and now drawing a line straight down. Once you get to this point, click. Now click on the big green check mark up on the ribbon. Immediately, it's kind of hard to tell what's happened other than the fact we now have a green line. But what's occurred is we now have two different sections of wall. There's a wall material here and now a wall material here. If we select on the green check mark now, then we zoom in, we can see one section highlights, then the other section highlights based on whichever section we have our cursor over the edge of it. If I zoom back out again, we can see those different parts. And what I'd like to do is select on one of these walls. In this case, I'm just going to select on this lower wall. Move over here underneath Properties, scroll down, and one of the options that's here is called Excluded. If we put a check mark in Excluded, we're now excluding it from the wall. And if you click out here, you'll now see that that is no longer there. You can no longer see it. It looks like it might be at a slight angle because of the angle that we were at here in the 3D view. If we were inside of an elevation view and drew this the exact same way, instead of being drawn at sort of this angle, it would have been flush with this material. The next thing I like to do is get rid of this right here. Now this material is actually just an airspace, and for our purposes and how I want to display this, I don't want to see it. So I'm going to select on the airspace. I probably should just divide it into a part so it's going to be behind this material here. In this instance, I just don't want to see it anymore. Once again, I'm going to come over here and I could either select on Excluded, and that would get rid of it, or I could even hide its visibility. If I wanted to hide the visibility of it, I could come down here to the Temporary Hide Isolate and then hide the element in order to just hide it temporarily inside of this view. I am going to select on Excluded. I'll zoom out, click out here in space, and now you can see that material no longer shows up, making up this wall. Also by doing that, if we zoom out far enough, we can see that we now have the CMU block exposed of the wall that's behind it. One other thing is that if we select on this remaining material that's right here, and we can only see the CMU block because when we select on an object, we can see through it in Revit, that we can change the material with the Material by Original. If we clear that out and then change it where it has gypsum wallboard to being some other kind of material, we can then apply that other material to the face of this wall. I've seen one or two materials that I might choose to use. If you see a material that you'd like off of the list, feel free to go ahead and select on that material just so you get a better idea as to what it looks like and you can get creative. In this instance, I'm going to go a little bit odd and I'm going to pick this material here, which is called oak flooring. Click on OK to that, and now click off in the space. Here we can see that oak flooring material actually placed along the surface of the wall. You get the idea that you can very quickly come in and manipulate the graphics and the display and actually the composition of a wall by just using your different tools to split it up and then hide different subcomponents where you may need to just manipulate the individual layers of material as opposed to the entire wall instances.